Basically, I started working with activist art a long time ago in France. First, mostly with unemployed people, actually, in graphic art in the streets. Then there came the turn of the century and the moment of the counter-globalization movement, which involved a real eye-opening moment for a lot of people, trying to understand how it is that society was being, in a way, recoded into a society based only on a kind of accountant's logic of, profit and loss, of debit and credit, which is a way of managing things and ultimately comes to be the only way that things are managed. We were already talking about that around 1999, 2000, the moment of Seattle, of June 18th, in the City of London, that is to say the financial center of London, many other events where people tried to come to grips with what was happening in society under the name globalization and see how that actually reached down into everyday life. See if it was possible to name the complex changes that were going on and then try to suggest as forcefully but also as imaginatively as possible that something could be different. Now coming out of that, social movements, they go up and they go down, kind of like the economy. It goes up and it goes down. So coming out of that, it seemed to me after a few years that it was necessary to go deeper in terms of reflection and to try to work with other people to develop a better way of theorizing, a better understanding, a better analysis of some processes of change in society, and also a better expression of that. A better way for artists to try and find a place in the, in this analysis of society, but also in the kind of activism that we're all going to be doing together tomorrow. And that led, in my case, to actually working in this seminar that we called Continental Drift, trying to understand how the processes of globalization, which took such a dramatic turn under President George Bush, how those were changing the way our society's structured, the way we get a job, the way that we could go through life, raise children, and so on, also the way that we think, as I said before. This program was done mostly in New York City with, in a self-organized space called 16 Beaver Street. It's actually named the 16 Beaver Group. We would have anywhere from 3 days to a week of meetings with people where we would spend the full day exchanging our ideas, our images, and our experiences. Very productive and interesting kind of practice whose goal is really to create what I would call a mode of perception, first of all. A capacity to look at things differently, therefore to make different kinds of images, of media, and also of written work, of theoretical work, and to share that socially. To take the experience of spaces like this, of moments like the one we have right now, and work with it to try and expand the possibility for everyone to actually appropriate for themselves a capacity to say something about the social condition that we're all experiencing. This is something you do in every social movement. You have to explain to the people on the street why you're in the street with a sign in your hand, or why you're doing some crazy artistic project like the one outside there where people are being asked to send a letter to the regents, dear regents, and a video letter to our friends who are immensely more wealthy than ourselves. So it's exactly that led me here. I got an email from somebody at UCSD. They wanted me to come and give a 10-minute speech. Come from Chicago for a 10-minute speech. I said, well, 10 minutes is kind of short, but it would be really nice if I could come a week before March 4th, and I might have some other things to do in the area. Before you know it, people had set up a whole program, partially inside the university system and partially outside it. And the point for me was to try to engage in collaborations with people like you. and to extend and multiply the kind of effect I could have as a normal professional person, a more or less well-known art critic, try to extend that into something beyond my own practice that would embrace a whole, actually the development of a movement, because what we're doing here is developing a movement to respond to the particular changes in Californian society that would seek to privatize the university entirely and cut many people out of a chance to participate in higher education. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. It's been a very interesting trip. It started at UCSD with very strong contact with the art department there. And then, on Friday morning last week, I went walking out to meet someone else in the art department, a great media maker named Ricardo Dominguez, but we never got there because it turned out that there had been another racist incident at UCSD, and the place to go was to go occupy the chancellor's office. So that's what we did on Friday morning with, you know, hundreds of people, not thousands of people, but hundreds of people. And that was interesting, and that was important, really important. And that, of course, is changing what's going to happen tomorrow, because that sent out a message that there are many levels of conflict involved in this economic crisis where people's life chances are being altered and where old forms of exclusion come up alongside the new ones that are being thrown up by the bureaucracy and also by the new ways that the police react to any kind of movement in the streets and so on. These are issues that are real. These go deep into society, and you can see it everywhere. I was very struck at UCSD by the presence of the military on that campus. That's a very strongly militarized campus. It doesn't mean that there are soldiers walking in the streets, although there are jet planes that run through the sky and actually stop you from speaking. They're so loud. What it means really, though, is that the UC system is not only there to teach you all, and it's not only there for you all to go beyond being students and become your creators in your own right, it's also there to do a lot of research for corporations and for the state. And not all this research is really necessarily in the public benefit. And this is something that you can actually not just examine and analyze during a social movement, but it's something that you can bring into people's awareness, bring into the kind of conversation that happens in daily life. And that's really the only way that anything can be changed on these kind of levels, whether it's the level of racism, whether it's the level of economic discrimination, or whether it's the level of a country's relation to other countries in the world. So I think that was very interesting for me. It was equally interesting to go to Los Angeles and to participate with people in what they call a public school. A public school which is in fact not supported by the state at all, which is an effort, a voluntary effort on the part of people to develop a collective agency, a collective process that can carry out this work of perception, debate, and expression. We had some very, very good meetings there, and I think those kind of meetings are going to go on in the Los Angeles context. Now, similarly, I went to UC Santa Barbara yesterday. Equally had some very good meetings there. They're getting prepared to go out tomorrow, and I'm going to be here with you all tomorrow to go out and demonstrate. But before getting into the demonstration aspect of it, maybe it's a good time on the eve of an event like that to do some reflection, to think about who we are, how we got that way, and what we could be, how things could be different. So now I'm going to pass over to the activity of reading a constructed paper that will, I hope, be kind of interesting.